would describe my life before Real Women as leadership. I was a leader in educational circles. I've been doing that for 30 years or more. I have also been in ministry for as long as I can remember. I've been singing all my life and preaching almost all my life. And so leadership was a lot of what I knew. And I poured out a lot to people as a result of that. And what that left is exhaustion for me. I really just spent a lot of time appearing to be okay in front of people and pouring out and giving them what they needed when they were not okay, but not really allowing time and space for others to pour into me in a substantive way. I heard sermons like everybody else. I was in church like everybody else. And so I can't say I didn't hear things that were helpful to me, but I didn't open up to anyone and allow myself to be seen as anything more than a leader. And that left me living an exhausted, duplicitous life where I was giving out in one space and feeling broken and empty in another space. My breaking points came along in marriage. I was giving so much to other people and being who others wanted and needed me to be that I was really being selfish about it. And my home started to suffer. We were, on thin ice, if you will, my husband and I. And I just had a baby, so I was exhausted from that as well. And so it was literally an emotional breakdown that caused me to, I call it being on the basement of my emotional floor. I was just out of it. And so much so that I spent time in the bed for as long and as much as I could. I caught my husband on the computer looking up how to help a depressed spouse. And it was in that space that I literally asked God, like, what am I supposed to do? Because I can't do it like this. I'm doing this wrong. And so what am I supposed to do now? And I was reminded that before I got even married, or at the very beginning of my marriage, I was really focused on sort of a small group of women. We would meet together and just talk about stuff that we were really dealing with. And it helped me because I was a sister girl to them. I wasn't anything else. I didn't have a title. They didn't care about all of that. They weren't looking for me to pour into them. We were there for each other. And I wanted that again. I wanted to connect with some women in a real way. So I just put out a conference call number to a bunch of girlfriends and asked them to join me. And so it was like for a whole summer in 2013, we spent time on the phone on a monthly basis and would just talk about stuff that we were dealing with. I would be honest and about what I was dealing with and then how I'm coping with it. And I would ask them to share the same. It was a beautiful exchange. And it got to the point where we wanted to do more than just be on the phone together. And I shared the vision of us getting together in a space. And for those who were local enough to come, I invited them September 2013 to the very first Real Women Sister Circle. I needed a safe space. And so I wanted to be able to take off my title. I wanted to be able to take off the mask of I'm okay. And I wanted to be able to sit with some women and just talk about things that I cared about and that they cared about, because we're all women. So I know we had some things in common. And it's so funny, what I ended up doing was very different than that the very first time. The very first circle that we had in Prince George's County, I had just come off of a revival. I'd preached a revival. And as a result, I was fired up. So much so, it was so much Holy Ghost that night. Just the night before, I invited somebody to come and do praise and worship at the first sister circle. I invited somebody. We were in a library, and I had a drummer and a keyboardist come, and we had regular praise and worship in the auditorium of the library.
I didn't know what to expect, but I was just coming open. I remember the drums, and I think we had a little program. And it was kind of like a church service at first, which I was okay with, whatever works. I was rocking with it. And then I think in the middle of it, Trinae said, oh my God, I don't think this is what this is supposed to be. And then I remember us having dialogue. I remember some of the ladies that were there, and we were just kind of, it was in a row of chairs, and we were like kind of leaning, across each other talking, but it was still good conversation, and I needed whatever I could get at that time.
Everybody went along with me. We was lifting up holy hands and everything, and I started preaching. It was just supposed to be a share, but I started preaching. And in the middle of it, I stopped and explained what it was really supposed to be, which was us talking and sharing in a very casual, open way. And I promised and committed from that day forward it would look different.
Trinae mentioned to me, she said, I'm starting something real soon and I want you to come. And it's going to be different. I think you'll enjoy it. So that invitation was extended. So I wanted to come and see what Real Women was about.
The next one I remember, I think it was at the library again, and we were in like a more of a setting where we could talk. It was low key, no drums or anything, no scheduled program.
We weren't in a circle yet, but we were in a smaller room and we were sitting in rows. And what I remember about this experience is that Trinae, the founder of Real Women, put me in handcuffs. My very first meeting. So I'm just sitting there nicely listening to her facilitate with the handcuffs on. And then at the end of the meeting, she dropped like a bomb. Like, I never told you that you couldn't unlock yourselves. You had the key the whole time. That was my first experience with Real Women, and I feel tears because that let me know that everything that I needed to be set free, I already had.
What I appreciated was the diversity that I saw in the room between just the women that were there, age ranges, marital statuses, all of those things, career, just everything was different. And so I just appreciated being around a variety of women.
So it was more of an intimate experience, more dialogue and more sharing. So definitely what I needed at the time.
Real Women, Prince George's County is birthed, and we are moving along and hosting these circles wherever we can find space. We're in the libraries of Prince George's County, Maryland, and we find a space in Prince George's County. It's a bed and breakfast where a sister girlfriend of mine owns, and she is willing to host us. And so we start meeting there.
Came to my first sister circle at the bed and breakfast place. Is that Fort Washington? Yeah. And it was actually a circle of women, all kinds of women, all ages women. Great circle. I was determined just to sit there and be quiet, just observe and see what I was getting myself into. It was a great experience, and I'm still here.
In order for us to meet in spaces, typically there was a fee associated with renting a space. And so we would ask, or have an opportunity rather, to give donations and some things. I'm sure Trinae was paying a lot out of pocket.
I am paying out of my pocket to be a part of, to host these circles wherever we hold them in Prince George's County. And I'm just doing it because honestly, I need it. This is something that I need. And I do this for at least 2 years.
I started coming every Saturday, whether we were meeting in the library in Clinton or whether we were in Accokeek. It was just a safe space for me. And I had been divorced for about 2 years. I was a new empty nester, so I was by myself. So it was really helping me do the soul work that was necessary for me to heal from all of my stuff.
And we're getting closer and closer to Charles County where I live. And the more I am putting out and investing in these circles and paying the library fees and the rental fees, the more I realize I can't sustain this. I decided to put out a little glass bowl on the table, and I ask women, I try to remember to ask women because sometimes I would just forget. I would ask women that on their way out if they wouldn't mind putting some donation in the bowl to help me with the room rental fees. It just wasn't sustainable forever to do it that way. And I began to talk about creating a model, a membership model for us that would allow women to invest in Real Women as an organization. And so, in order for us to launch that, we hosted our very first intensive.
I got a big warm welcome from Trinace. She's a homeschooler, a fellow homeschooler, and I met her through that way. And then she actually invited me to the Real Women Conference. I think that was my first exposure. So I got to see Real Women intensified.
And we chose very intentionally to call our gatherings, our bigger gatherings, intensives, because we were meeting not just on a Saturday for a couple of hours, but we were meeting for a whole weekend. And we called it our sister circle on steroids, because the idea is that you're going to grow exponentially because you have the opportunity to actually focus for the whole weekend on whatever the topics are, the themes are. So we hosted our first intensive.
I remember very specifically because I was supposed to walk across the stage receiving my master's degree, and I very intentionally chose to be at the intensive. I just wanted to be there, and it was our regular sister circle, but just a whole lot more.
As an only child and also a mom of all sons, I really needed that feminine energy and that sisterhood. So that was for me like that warm hug feeling, you know, that feeling of being supported and seeing so many role models that didn't feel like they were above or below me but my equals, and accepting me for who I was, even with my differences in faith or differences in background and, you know, where I was in life with my motherhood or my, you know, career or my family situation. So
Siobhan called me to ask me if I would sit on a panel of 40-somethings to talk about being 40, what it meant to be in a decade of 40, what I learned, that kind of thing. So she had been talking about y'all, but I never, you know, a bunch of women, I'm not going. So I came into the space. I am one who, if I'm going to speak at something, I attend it. So I paid my registration, walked into the space, and it was one of the few spaces I had been in that there was a room full of 60 some odd women, and there'd be not an ounce of judgment as women are sharing some of their most intimate details of who they are, their lives, their struggles. I had never felt that safe in a space that wasn't my girls.
To see so many women from so many different walks of life express themselves in a way that's pretty taboo for us, to talk about things that we don't normally talk about. It was amazing to me, like, oh my gosh. And one of the things that was said was, what you need is in the room. To see that happen before my eyes, to see the breakthrough that was occurring before my eyes, you know, with so many women, to see the wholeness and the healing that's taking place, which usually happens behind the scenes in front of such a large group of women. It just was, I was in awe.
We had an amazing time, amazing breakthroughs, women just not expecting what they got there because they had experienced me as a preacher. And it was very different than that. Of course, I was passionate, and everyone who presented, and we had panelists. We had a 93-year-old woman talk to us via video. It was amazing, but it was very different. So we had members to join us, and we also had women come from out of town. And their thing was, what about us? So we started thinking about ways in which we could grow. And the first place I wanted to go, to be very honest with you, was Hampton Roads, Virginia, because that's where I'm from. And I knew very logically that I could get women to attend because I've done a lot of ministry there. I'm from there. I have family there. So it made it the next logical step for us to grow there. And so a sister girlfriend of mine who grew up with me, literally, we grew up together, she partnered with me to begin the journey of starting Hampton Roads, Real Women Hampton Roads. And that launch a year later was incredible. I remember coming out and doing some Facebook Lives and being in tears because I realized that I was going to be in Charles County, Maryland, and there was going to be a sister circle happening for the very first time in another state, in another space that I didn't necessarily have to attend in order for women to experience what I've been able to experience for the past few years. It was just, I was blown away. I wasn't facilitating, they were, and I was able to sit and watch the baby that I'd birthed grow up to be something else, and me be able to watch it happen. And then the following year, the next logical step was for us to host it in Charles County. And someone who has been not only a mentee of mine, but a sister girlfriend of mine for years, Kia Mason, had already been making herself so available in service to me. And I know of the master teacher she is, even if she wasn't fully embracing of that kind of title at the time. And so I invited her to be the facilitator of the circle with me. And we birthed Charles County, Real Women Charles County.
Charles County Circle started in the spring of 2018. And I had my first experience facilitating at an intensive in December of 2017. And then so a few months later, we launched Charles County. And I'm from Charles County. I'm an educator for the school system here in the county. And so I felt like it would be great to have a circle here in this area. I felt like I knew a lot of people, and I just wanted to help. I wasn't planning to be the facilitator, definitely not the lead facilitator, but again, I wanted to see a circle here because I just thought that this was a space for it.
It was not only our largest launch, but it still remains our largest circle. It's the circle that garners the most amount of people because we service all of Southern Maryland. And then we just saw growth happen after that. I started trainings periodically for facilitators who wanted to learn how to facilitate the way that we did. Because we have certain core values that are important to us. Honesty and authenticity and transparency, and we practice those first, and we invite and model it for others for them to practice it.
At first, I felt like I was a little bit lost, and I was like, why did I tell her I would help with this? And it didn't seem to be very natural at first, and it just took a while to get, I guess, in my rhythm as a facilitator, because it's not just about us like talking at people, but learning how to be a part of that circle and just learning how to, I guess, present information and include everyone in the conversation and the discussion.
I just felt so passionate about doing the work that we were doing with helping women, and I believed in it so much that I just wanted to help in whatever way I could.
When I tapped into doing the same exact thing that I do in the classroom in my role as a teacher, then I was like, this is what it's supposed to feel like, and I'm supposed to look different, and I'm supposed to be different. And I just started to just know myself a little bit better, and I felt comfortable being myself, and like I settled into myself, if that makes sense.
I hosted a training for that, and out of those trainings grew other women willing to host sister circles in their areas. So we began Real Women Northern Virginia.
I'm still trying to figure that out a little bit. Because I was minding my business. And Trinace was like, I think we should have a circle in Northern Virginia. And I was like, who's supposed to do that? And so after facilitator training, it's strange. I facilitated, then I had to train it. It was the strangest thing. And then we started looking for a place. And we found a library and a date, and we got started, January 2019.
My first exposure to Real Women was the inaugural event for Northern Virginia. I was just there to help set up, but there was this overwhelming need to be in the room. I kept wanting to leave, but there was this pulling to be in the room. And I'm in the room, and Neff speaks, and there's this connection that I was supposed to be there to tell her something. And it had to do with her grandmother. Having recently lost my mother, I was supposed to give her a message. And I've been tethered since then.
Rhonda Ragsdale was open to helping us start that circle. And Lisa Walker and Shantae Taylor helped us launch Real Women Baltimore. And they were instrumental in helping us grow beyond the central DC metro area.
The genuineness that I felt was something that we don't experience often. We have to question. So that, for me, what I experienced told me I had to be a part of this. Like it was life-changing, it was transformative. I was someone who held a lot of inadequacy. And just from the sharing, I felt so poured into. I felt so capable.
We launched Young Adult Real Women. Young Adult Real Women has kind of always been virtual. We had some in-person time because of some folks in Charles County. Sheba and a whole crew of other people who helped us launch it, but it has spent a lot of time virtually so that we can meet the needs of young adults wherever they are. And it has been an amazing thing. I'll say out loud that Christina Kennedy reminded us at an intensive that we had a duty and a responsibility to make sure that young adults were in these rooms because it was too powerful to keep to ourselves, and that young adult women needed to hear what was being shared in those rooms. Whenever I walk into a room, whenever I walk into a space that we are hosting, and I see a group of women who are there for Real Women, because of Real Women, whenever I see Real Women t-shirts being worn, the smiles, the hugs, the tears, the pouring into each other, I cannot express how blessed and humbled I am. It really is unbelievable to me that something I needed has resonated so strongly with so many other women. And I'm not the only witness. I'm not the only evangelist of Real Women. There are other women who can articulate how powerful Real Women is better than me because it has meant that much to them. That leaves me speechless. That leaves me speechless.
I grew up in a house. I loved her to death. I loved my mother to the depths of my soul. And when she was no longer here, my heart beat differently. But there was a judgmental spirit in the house. Some things just weren't never good enough. So to be in a space where I feel enough, and I'm told I'm enough, and I can walk and be enough, it's life-saving for me.
It's absolutely important to have a mixture of people who I can be authentic with, who are like me, spiritual but savage, soulful, righteous, ratchet, all of the above. It has been a breath of fresh air to be connected to so many powerful women with such powerful stories, yet we believe in, a higher power. We believe in we believe in each other. We all come from all different walks of life, incomes, social connections. I mean, I've been blessed by young people, old people, all of the above, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful thing just to be in the realm and in the journey and coming into the stories of other people.
I am an American Muslim, Black American Muslim, and I feel like Real Women is more of an interfaith, very welcoming organization. So everybody comes in with their own representation and connection to their higher power or their highest self. And so for me, I enjoy the fact that I didn't have to suppress or hide or pretend or feel pulled in any direction. Even though I think that there are many, many Christians, I didn't feel like there was proselytizing, that big word. And I felt like everybody was there on their own spiritual journey. And I just kind of got in where I fit in.
I've always been different. And things come across like I don't have the same experiences. We don't have the same experiences, but I've always been a little odd. But in the circle, it's okay to not have the same experiences, but I still have something to offer. So I found my worth. I'm allowed to be a lone wolf, but belong to a pack. And that is what Real Women taught me, that it's okay to be a lone wolf, but I still belong.
I isolated first because that's my norm. That's my go-to. That's my go-to as a only child and dealing with things myself. But I got to a point where I felt like it was unhealthy. And the spiritual side of me is talking to me and said, don't allow the devil to take your spirit and all the work that you've done in this circle. So thank God we came back when we came back from COVID, because I got a chance to come back to the circle and release some of the things that I was trying to help myself with. And sometimes you feel like you can help yourself and have all the answers and don't need people. But God gave us people for a reason. God gave us sisters for a reason. And if we don't take advantage of the opportunities while we have it now, if I would have stayed in isolation a little longer, I may have done something that was unhealthy for myself.
It saved me. And the women in it saved me. Trinace, Neff, Siobhan, all of them that was facilitating at that time saved me. And they pulled me in when I said I wasn't going to be pulled in. Because my intention was to sit my hind parts in the seat. But they saw something in me and pulled me in. And it's been the best thing.
I didn't know who I was, and I feel the tears. I didn't know who I was in 2013 when I came to Real Women, but now I know exactly who I am. I am the warrior princess, and I found me in the circle in Real Women. So if anyone is looking for a safe place to just be, to do work on themselves, to really become who they were really purposed and intended to be, that's the place to be. That's why I would recommend it.
We have been in existence for 10 years. I see in the next 10 years me being able to do a video like this and show vignettes and pictures and videos from all across the world of sister circles that are taking place on every continent, in several countries on every continent, and being facilitated and spoken in other languages. I see us growing to the place where every woman has a safe space and a sister circle, no matter where she lives in the world. I see hundreds of facilitators and thousands of women in Real Women t-shirts, yelling and dancing and hugging and crying together that we are real women and we are authentic and we are transparent and we are strong and we are vulnerable and we are proud of being all of those things. We are this and we are that to our families and to the businesses that we work for and that we own. I see us being healthy and whole and pouring into young adult women so that they don't feel lost and they have some level of a compass and a safe space where they can process. I see us being able to help women across the world see how much we have in common, no matter what our differences are, that we are women of different faith traditions, we are women of different backgrounds, culturally, economically, but we are all women and we have some very common themes and threads, and that binds us, that bonds us together in the most meaningful ways. And I see us being able to take that message around the world. I see us being able to host an intensive in different countries because the women got to get to them, right? And we're going to be on different continents hosting global intensives that we're going to need interpreters, and we're going to have the opportunity where women of different cultural backgrounds get to come together and talk about their experiences from different countries and be able to come together and say, wait a minute, me too. Like, I experienced that in my country too, girl, you too? See, yes, me too. So I see global intensive sister circles around the world. I see us being able to gather as women under the umbrella of Real Women globally. We are the best kept secret, and we are about to be the secret exposed.